Beneath the frozen ceiling of the Arctic, where the world falls silent and time seems to shiver in place, a hidden ocean waits in blue darkness. Light struggles here. Sound dissolves. Every drift of water breathes with the weight of ancient winters. And somewhere in this submerged labyrinth of ice tunnels and crystal chambers, the Arctic keeps its oldest secrets. Secrets carved by centuries of pressure, silence, and cold so deep it feels alive. This is a world humans were never meant to see. Yet we're about to walk straight into its frozen heart. Before we descend, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves exploring the unseen world beneath our planet. The descent begins with a single breath, warm, human, fragile, fading into a world that has never needed us. The ice above arches like a frozen sky, a pale ceiling sculpted by centuries of storms we will never feel. As we slip beneath its edge, the surface world dissolves behind us, replaced by a cold, so ancient it seems to hum with memory. The water tightens around us, thick and heavy, as though the Arctic itself is testing our presence, wondering why we've dared to enter a place carved by silence rather than sunlight. Ahead, the submerged cavern opens like a throat, swallowing us into its frozen, underwater maze. The first chamber glows with a faint blue haze, the kind of light that seems born inside the ice rather than cast upon it. Long ribbons of frozen air twist through the glacier walls, preserving storms that passed centuries ago. Every bubble is a tiny time capsule, holding echoes of winds that once tore across the tundra. When our lights sweep across them, the bubbles shimmer, trembling with trapped breath, like ghosts startled awake in their glass prisons. The walls pulse with shifting hues, gentle at first, then deeper, sliding from pale turquoise to cold sapphire. It feels less like swimming into a cave and more like drifting through the bloodstream of winter. A soft groan vibrates through the tunnel, low and distant. The ice speaks slowly, stretching and settling under its own impossible weight. It is not a threatening sound. It is the voice of something vast, patient, older than every memory our species has ever recorded. Each vibration reminds us that these chambers are alive in their own slow way, constantly reshaping, constantly shedding and rebuilding themselves. Scientists say the Arctic changes quietly, almost imperceptibly, but down here, every shifting note feels monumental. Even the water responds. Currents swirl in delicate spirals as if bowing to the ice's subtle commands that we follow the tunnel deeper, letting our lights search the darkness ahead. The passage narrows, then widens into a cathedral-like chamber that seems too grand to be real. Beneath us, the seafloor is coated in crystalline silt, sparkling gently as if frost has settled on the ocean itself. Above, jagged formations of ice hang like frozen chandeliers, each one sculpted by the slow drip and refreeze of centuries. When the beam of a diver's lamp touches them, they ignite in glimmers of green and blue, scattering fractured reflections across the water. It is as if the cavern breathes in colored. At the center of the chamber lies a ridge of submerged crystal structures, geometric, sharp-edged, perfectly clear. They rise from the seafloor like the remnants of an ancient city swallowed by cold. Each formation glows faintly, casting prismatic lines through the water. The crystals are believed to be the result of mineral-rich meltwater freezing under immense pressure, their shapes guided by the physics of time and compression rather than human imagination. They look fragile, but in truth, they are harder than the ice surrounding them, unmoved by the flow of years. We drift between them slowly, careful not to disturb formations that took centuries to grow. Every movement must feel like a whisper. The lone diver glides ahead, their silhouette dwarfed by the immensity of the room. Their bubbles rise in trembling spirals, breaking the stillness with soft, fleeting explosions of silver. The air trails drift upward until they touch the ice ceiling, where they flatten, freeze, and join the millions of trapped breaths already imprisoned there. For a moment, it's impossible not to wonder how many explorers, or lost wanderers, have left their last exhale in these hidden caverns that we push through another narrow throat of ice. And the temperature drops again. The cold tightens around our faces, sharper now, more commanding. Our lights catch hairline cracks in the walls, glowing faintly like white veins threading through blue stone. These fractures are not signs of danger. They are the Arctic's quiet reminder that everything here is in motion, even when it appears still. Scientists often describe ice as a kind of slow fire, forever shaping, forever erasing, forever burning its way through time. Down here, that idea becomes painfully clear. The next chamber is darker, deeper, quieter. The water feels heavier, numbing fingertips even through thick gloves. Darkness crowds the edges of our lights, refusing to retreat fully. The walls rise in smooth, towering columns, like ancient pillars in a forgotten temple. Thin sheets of frost drift in the water like underwater snow, brushing past us in floating, delicate motions. Each flake refracts the light, scattering tiny sparkles that fade before they reach the darkness beyond. It is beautiful in a way that hurts, cold, silent, fragile, and infinite. Then something unexpected happens. A distant shimmer appears at the far end of the cavern, a soft pulse of pale green. At first, it looks like our lights reflecting on smooth ice, but the glow swells, brightening with a slow, steady rhythm. We drift closer, barely breathing. The water stirs gently, not from our movements, but from something ahead, something alive. A flicker of bioluminescence coils upward like a green flame. Then another, then a cluster of faint glows swirling together. Tiny Arctic plankton, disturbed by our presence, begin to drift in radiant spirals, painting the dark water with soft, living light. Their glow spreads like a quiet invitation, leading us deeper. The gentle spirals of bioluminescent plankton fade behind us as we move into the narrowest corridor yet, a corridor that looks more like a frozen artery than a passageway. The ice walls press close on either side, etched with long, vertical streaks where meltwater once flowed like liquid threads. Our lights reveal layers within layers, centuries of snowfall compacted into translucent striations. Some lines are crisp as glass, others blurred like the memory of storms that happened before our species learned to write. When the beam shifts, the walls seem to stretch endlessly upward, as if the corridor is taller than physics should allow. This place bends both distance and imagination that we glide single file, our movements careful, controlled. Even the sound of our breathing feels loud in the silence. The corridor bends left, then right, forming a labyrinth shaped by the weight of the glacier pressing slowly into the sea. Over time, the ice has carved its own pathways, choosing routes without logic but with undeniable purpose. The ocean has followed its lead, filling each new void, smoothing rough edges, polishing cold stone until it gleams. We are not exploring these caves. We are trespassing through the pages of a frozen story still being written. The tunnel opens suddenly, as if the ocean takes a breath. The chamber we enter is enormous, stretching far beyond the reach of our lights. Darkness swallows the edges, leaving only the central structure visible, a towering column of ice rising from floor to ceiling. It glows faintly, illuminated from within by veins of trapped air and thin webs of minerals. The column looks alive, a giant frozen heartbeat suspended in the center of the room. As we circle closer, small cracks shimmer across its surface, their shapes delicate and branching, like frost growing across a window pane that a diver taps their glove against it, gently, reverently, and the echo hums through the cavern. It vibrates in the water, passes through the ice walls, and travels into places we can't see. The sound is deep, resonant, almost melodic. It reminds us of something ancient and patient, something that speaks only when spoken to. Beneath the cold, the Arctic is listening that we move farther in, sweeping our lights across the chamber until they catch on something unusual. In the far corner, shielded behind a large overhang of ice, lies a cluster of crystal formations unlike the ones we saw before. These are larger, clearer, and arranged in geometric shapes that look almost deliberate. The longer we stare, the harder it becomes to believe this structure is natural. The crystals rise from the seafloor like frozen spires, tall as a person, glowing faintly with hues of pale violet and icy blue. Their surfaces are perfectly smooth, reflecting the diver's lights in sharp, mirrored flashes. Scientists call these formations pressure-borne crystals, minerals forced into geometric perfection by the crushing weight of ice and ocean. But seeing them here, arranged in delicate symmetry, they feel less like geological artifacts and more like relics from a civilization long forgotten, left behind in the deepest cold. We drift among them slowly, almost afraid to break whatever fragile silence protects this place. The temperature drops further, and our fingers stiffen despite the thermal layers. The cold here is different, sharper, heavier, pressing into joints and bones. This part of the cavern sits deeper beneath the glacier, where the ice above is thicker, denser, more ancient. Every few minutes, a low groan rolls through the chamber like distant thunder. The glacier shifts, adjusting its immense weight. The sound is both warning and welcome, a reminder that we are not alone in here. We continue forward until the chamber narrows into another passage. Frost drifts in the water like shimmering dust. The tunnel slopes downward slightly, guiding us deeper beneath the Arctic crust. The walls are smoother here, polished by centuries of flowing meltwater. When our lights sweep across them, They gleam like carved marble, cool and flawless. Shadows ripple along the curves, bending with the motion of the water. The tunnel feels alive, breathing, shifting, waiting. At the end of the passage, a faint glow pulses like a heartbeat. We move toward it, our pace slow, controlled. The water feels heavier with every meter, thick with cold and expectation. When we finally reach the chamber, the glow blossoms around us in soft waves of green and blue. Bioluminescent organisms float in clusters, trapped in small pockets of still water. They drift with gentle pulses of light, filling the chamber with a glow so soft it feels like moonlight underwater. Then we see it, carved deeply into the ice wall on the far side of the room. A long vertical scar. Jagged and fresh, the edges of the ice are sharp, not softened by time, and the fractured pieces lie scattered across the seafloor below. Whatever created this mark was strong, sudden, and recent. The Arctic rarely moves quickly, yet here is the evidence of an abrupt shift, a force powerful enough to shear through meters of solid ice in an instant. We drift closer, inspecting the break. Cold mist seeps from the crack in slow tendrils, curling through the water like ghostly breath. Something changed here, something big. A diver signals upward. Through the faint glow, we see the ceiling above the scar flexing, the ice bending under pressure. It creaks deeply, stretching like a living thing. Every instinct tells us to back away, but curiosity keeps us frozen in place. The Arctic has revealed something it never meant for us to witness. Another crack snaps through the chamber, sharp and sudden, echoing like a gunshot in the silence, and the ice begins to move. It shifts with a force we cannot outrun, a reminder that down here, the Arctic is still wild, still sovereign, still capable of swallowing everything without leaving a trace. The chamber groans, the water trembles, and the darkness ahead deepens, waiting.